Alright, so to begin, I have laid down all of my edges with washi tape. It's my favorite to use with watercolor. I'll link everything below in case you're interested. Now, after you've done all your corners, we are going to measure out how long the paper is that you're using, and then just split the tape down the middle if you can. This is just going to help our trees look a little bit more natural as opposed to just a straight line from the tape. So just take your time. I think I'm going to do 4 trees in this piece. And I'm going to add like this little branch coming off the side. And I think it just adds a little bit of character to it. I'm going to do a second one on the left. Perfect. Let's measure our next piece out. Rip it off. And then again, we're splitting it down the middle, or as evenly as you can. I'm trying to tear it again because I want to get some extra pieces for branches. And then we're just going to stick it down onto our watercolor paper. And we're just going to repeat the process until we're happy with how it looks. I feel like using tape is so much fun. It's just another way that you can block out white space, and you can really make a creative piece without using like masking fluid or something else. All right, we got our third tree here. I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to position it. There we go. Add a little branch. I like how it's coming along. And we are going to have room for a 4th, so that's exciting. Okay, here we go. Get that tree trunk down. I did it kind of on an angle just for fun. And then just a couple little branches to finish it off. And we are almost ready to paint. So exciting. All right, after you've pushed them all down, push them down again. Okay, so we are going to be using vermilion, orange, orange yellow, Van Dyke brown, olive green, and dark red. This is the color palette that I've chosen, but feel free to switch it up. Alright, let's wet these paints. just in case we need to refill our wells as we work. And then I'm going to use my spray bottle and I'm going to spray the paper. I don't want it to be soaking wet, but I definitely want it to be saturated where the colors are going to melt together or make blooms, as they say. All right, I'm just gonna get my paint palette situated. We're gonna start with the vermilion, which is the light red. Actually, I changed my mind. We're gonna start with orange yellow. So just up and down motions. We're just tapping that color onto the page, up and down. And you want to make sure that you get the areas around the tape so that when we take the tape off, you can really see the outline of the trees. Now, I'm using a water brush pen for this tutorial, but you can easily use a regular brush such as a round size 5. That would give you a great look. I'm adding more yellow. And I'm just kind of thinking about how the light hits the trees. It kind of is like an ombre effect. Next, we're going to pick up some orange and just let that bleed into the yellow that we just laid down. Just up and down tapping motions. Very relaxing. I'm going to add in some red too, some vermilion. I'm just misting my page because I feel like it needs to be a little bit more wet than it is. And we're just adding more of that light red. Pick up some more. There we go. It's a beautiful fall color. I'm also making sure to leave some negative space. So I'm not filling up the entire page with color. I am leaving white spots just here and there. Because if you think about looking at trees, there's always some spots that are bare, right? Okay, so we're gonna pick up some more yellow. And we're just dabbing that underneath the orange that we laid down. I love this orange yellow color. I just feel like it pops and it really just brings the piece to life. I'm going to switch back to orange. And I'm laying that underneath what we just did. All right. Let's get some olive green in here. Because maybe there's some greenery to this piece. Maybe not everything has turned. Maybe the colors are not. You know what I'm saying. All right, we're just going up and down. Nothing fancy here. And I'm making sure that I paint over the tape so that we give the trees good form. All right, let's switch back to yellow. And just do a little bit above the greenery because I kind of want them to blend together. I don't want it to be so like yellow then green, you know? more of an ombre, a blended effect. So I'm just using that yellow to tie everything together. And just touching up some spots that I missed before. Now we're going to let this all dry. Okay, so once everything is dry, we are going to be switching to the smallest brush that you have. I'm using a 1. You can use something that's even smaller if you like. We're only going to be using one color for this section to paint details on the birch trees. We're using Van Dyke Brown. And it's a very light wash that we're doing. So we're doing very light-handed. We're using a lot of water, a little paint, and we're just kind of dry brushing on the tree. So you want to allow all of the water and the pigment to run out of your brush before you reload. And I'm just adding some shadows where I think they might be on the branches, just to give a little depth, some character. And you can see I just made the paint even more watery. So the consistency is pretty thin. And I'm just doing the same thing to every tray. Just so that they aren't like starch white and they have a little bit of depth to them. If you like them really white, you don't have to do this step. You can just skip it. Totally your call. All right, we're going to do the 4th tree here. In just 1 second. All right, here we go. More concentrated at the bottom, bringing it up the tree bark all the way up the tree, and then adding like a shadow onto the branch. Okay. Once that's dried, we are going to add some more detail. So if you go back to your first tree, it should be dry by now. And I'm just making little lines, but they're curved, almost like a U shape. And I'm doing some dark, I'm doing some light, some on the left, some on the right. Just very, very varied. No rhyme or reason, really. And again, I'm using the same tapping motion to achieve this look. It's pretty simple. So let's just add a couple more darker lines and then move on to our next tree. I'm going to start by doing like the U-shaped lines, and then like dots all the way up. If you want your trees to be really pronounced, you can really just go to town with the detail on these. You can just take your time, and the more detail, the better. And then I kind of want to concentrate some darkness towards the bottom of the tray. You can tell I'm holding the brush at like a 45-degree angle because I want it to make lines as opposed to dots. And that's really helping give this bark that textured look. And I'm just dry brushing on the top here. And adding a little bit towards the bottom. I like how that one came out. I was a little worried it wasn't going to come out well, but I think it did. And then just, again, adding more towards the bottom of the tray. All right, we're on our last one. Very exciting. This one I'm doing a lot of line work on it. But that's because I feel like it got lost in the paint that we laid down previously. I feel like I didn't put enough paint around it, so I'm trying to make it a little bit darker and a little bit more pronounced. And that's it. How simple is that? Now for the fun part, which is taking off the tape. So satisfying. And there we go. That is our finished piece. If you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure to give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.